Friedtanzer from Awards Radar, and I'm so thrilled to be speaking with Milo Ventimiglia about The Company You Keep. How are you, Milo?
I'm doing great, Ave. How are you this morning?
Good, good. It's good to see you back on TV so soon after This Is Us. What was it about this role in this show that got you to come back right away?
Oh man, so many things, so many things. John Chu, who was also an EP, a friend of mine, had known for years and years and years. He brought the project to us. The setup of family, the setup of relationship, the setup of fun and con and heist. It just kind of fit this. I'll call it a wonderful placement of what I think we as a company and me as an actor were wanting to do in being back on television. For as wonderful as This Is Us was, there was so much emotion and there was a very real element to it that I wanted to make sure that the next role, the next job was uh, a bit of a departure without being a classic bad guy. So playing a good bad guy who's got a conscience, got a heart, who's not out maliciously, taking advantage of people, but he's looking out for the neighborhood. There's something wonderful about Charlie Nicoletti and his role within the family cons on the show that I just leaned into.
What kind of research do you do for a role like this?
Well, it's funny because I feel like con men are strangely similar to actors. We have to, and I'm speaking as an actor, not as a con man, but we have to match feelings and get people to kind of fall in line with what we're experiencing and take them along on our journey. And you're kind of like pulling people in, and that's not too dissimilar from a con man. A con man is just reflecting a person's a mark, who they're going after, a target. They're just reflecting, their emotional state, and they're trying to get someone to do what it is they're wanting them to do. Like it was funny. There was this saying uh, that had been on repeat just for a very very long time, just in my own existence, and it was, "You can get anything you want. You just have to know how to say it." And I think that's something very specific about the world of con. You can get anything you want, you just have to know how to say it. Um, it wasn't a whole lot of research, studying classic con men, anything like that. It was just understanding how the architecture of the cons that the Nicoletti families were pulling off, and then Charlie's role, and then just diving in. Kind of like an actor. You're like, okay, I get the story, I get the set, I get the costumes. All right, great. Let me do it.
And there's definitely a line that the family has that they don't want to cross, and that's what's
Mhm.
interesting with working with Daphne, because she
Yeah.
doesn't have that, but we're also seeing that she's being humanized, and there is
Mhm.
this relationship, maybe even a romance of some sort of building between them. What is it like to to play with Felicia?
Felicia's wonderful. She's so talented, so good, and like just the kindest human being on the set. I think there's a lot of common ground between Charlie and Daphne. Even though Daphne's Ivy League educated, she runs with a crowd that she's different from, and she sees things differently. But I think there's this feeling of coming from the same dirt that Charlie and Daphne have. And it's kind of an undeniable, oh, these two actually match up pretty well in a lot of different ways. A lot of different ways. Um, yeah, it's coming. it's you know, I mean, it's funny. There were so many moments early through the season where it felt like Daphne was just kind of, you know, a cat toying around with the mouse of Charlie, but Charlie's always holding his ground, because $10 million over his head or not, he's not going to let somebody push him around. Not anyone. But I think that playfulness has kind of like moved over in a direction of respect, like real respect and admiration and intrigue for Daphne.
this also feels like the kind of show sort of like Burn Notice, where there's so many people that this family like they get one over on, and then you just don't see them again. But maybe you will, because it's not as if they die and they're just gone forever. But it's possible
Hmm.
they'll sort of come back to haunt things. And so I think it seemed at
Oh
the beginning
yeah,
maybe Daphne wouldn't last that long, but she's here. She's not going
totally.
anywhere.
Yeah, totally. And then you got like Jones Malone. We got yeah, episode 8. We have Tony Shalhoub playing Frank Musso. I mean, these like just random people. I mean, I'm still waiting for Tina, the Charlie's first fiance, to show back up to like, kick up a little dirt emotionally, but also kick up some dirt with the family.
But for now, we have Emma, who is a fantastic character to put,
Mhm.
aside Charlie. And I think there's just so much intense passion at the start, and then a lot of flirtation that sort of gives way to a bit of hostility as it goes. What has that relationship been like filming with Catherine?
Catherine's wonderful. She really dove in headfirst to the experience of, not only this wonderfully dynamic, complicated CIA officer who comes from a political dynasty family, but who also just really wants to find partnership that's going to stick, as well as for Catherine being number 2 on the call sheet. That's a big responsibility. You're working a lot of hours. You're waking up at 3 in the morning to get ready for a 5 a.m. call, to get to set, to work 12 hours, to have to turn around and do it all again the next day. Catherine's been wonderful. She's engaged with the character. She asks a lot of questions. She's got great instinct, and I think also like the discovery. There's only what I can bring as Charlie and what she can bring as Emma. But when we're there matched up, and this happens with any dynamic on screen, it happens Charlie and Daphne. How Milo and Felicia approach the work. It happens uh, um, Billy Fickner and Milo, as Charlie and Leo. But there's something discovered when you put two dedicated actors together that build something. Had it with Mandy Moore, Jack and Rebecca. Jack would not have been Jack without her Rebecca, and vice versa. So, hats off to Catherine. Really proud of her, and really grateful for the work she put into this first season.
And you mentioned Billy, who I would call William, since I don't know him as well.
Sure,
I think
sure,
was
sure.
just terrific. I've been a big fan of his since Invasion, which I think was a season before Heroes. I don't
Hmm.
remember, and
Yeah.
that was one that
Hmm.
didn't take off. But he's just an incredible actor, and it's so
He's
good to see him
phenomenal.
in
Yeah.
this role. How do you work on crafting the father-son dynamic?
I mean, it's funny because, like, sorry, I'm leaning across my desk. I went to go do ADR the other day, and I walk in and he leaves me a note. Milo, thanks for coming all the way to coming out to Burbank. Miss you, bro. Like, he's playing my dad, but he's calling me bro. It's just, and also like he was like my dream to work with. Billy was. When we were looking at actors for the role, there were a lot of heavy names that were coming up, a lot in the Italian American genre and space. And I remember I kind of looked at my partner Russ. I was like, "Hey man, what do you think about Billy?" He's like, "Say it." I was like, "Guys, Billy Fickner," and everybody lost their minds. But they're like, "Would he do this?" Like, I don't know. And could you guys play father and son? And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." There's just there's admiration and there's trust, and Billy's he's been doing it a long time, and he does it at such a level, uh, and he doesn't watch the work. Like, I'll ask him, be like, "Hey man, what did you think about this scene?" He's like, "I didn't see it." He's like, "One day, 5 years from now, I'm gonna call you and I'm gonna tell you how wonderful it all was." And I was like, "Okay." Um, but I mean, finding that dynamic of father and son is like there's a lot of just conversation and trust, and ultimately discovering together what each of us want out of these characters, out of this relationship. um, and what we had on set, top to bottom in cast, was a willing group of artists. Everybody was there wanting to work on depth of their character. Sarah Wayne Callies and Polly Draper and Frida Foshen, just everybody, um, Tim Chu, like everybody just wanted to like find the depths of their character. And it was wonderful to see a collective group of artists that want to do that.
Do you think that if the show got renewed for a second season, there would be a new sort of direction for it? And is it a character that you'd love to stick with for a while?
I don't know if there'd be a new direction for it so much as there would be a deeper exploration of the families of the characters. I mean, I think we leaned into the con world of the Nicolettis, and I think people really enjoy seeing that and seeing the fun in that. And I think that's wonderful to lean into. And I think even as an actor, it's like to you know putting on the trappings of Ernesto Ricci, the gun runner from episode 4. It's a blast. It's a character within a character. Finding these moments to be, somebody else within being somebody else within being somebody else. It's a bit like Inception. You're just kind of like, wait, where am I tracking in this? When's the drop gonna hit? But I think there's always like a lot to explore with it. There's still so much more to explore with it. So yeah, I'd be excited too if we did more.
And on This Is Us, we got to see a lot of facial hair and, 80s clothing. But on this show,
Mhm.
you really have a lot of costume changes, which I think is something unlike a lot of your previous roles. Is that an enjoyable process or is it very, burdensome and time consuming?
Nah, I mean, it's funny. I think a lot of people when they get up in the day, they'll get cleaned up, they'll put one set of clothes on, they get home, maybe they'll put some comfies on, then they'll crawl into pajamas. I think in a given day, I'm changing clothes about 6 or 7 or 8 times. I don't mind it. I mean, also in like how we built Charlie, Hala Bamet, our costume designer, who we worked together on This Is Us for so many years. I just said, I was like, we're building him unremarkable. We're building him very simple, but still within that, you've got to find a neighborhood guy. You got to find a guy who owns a bar. You got to find a guy who's comfortable in a t-shirt as well in a, several $1,000 tuxedo when he's pulling off of a con. So I think it's fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I like to stretch as far as my physical limitations will allow me. So I'm always going to push it no matter what I'm playing.
On that note, I feel like Charlie is often running from somebody, maybe not that fast, but he's trying to get away. Is there a lot of stunt work involved in the show?
Oh yeah, no, there had been some stunts, where we hadn't been doing any stunts really on This Is Us. There's a lot of stunts. I think the month of December, it was a combination of injuries though. I split my eyebrow open, have a nice new scar here, and I actually had an impact fracture on my femur because I was running away from some gunfire in episode 5, and I adjusted my placement down this aisle of books by 2 inches, and I kneed the corner of a stone pillar with the corner of my knee, and just was on the ground for a while. It was kind of tough, but it was fun. It's fun to be able to do that stuff. It's fun to do some action. It's fun to move a little bit more and you know work your physicality, not only just working your mouth or your brain.
I mean, I wasn't watching Gilmore Girls when it was on, but I was very into Heroes when it first started. And I feel like that's, this obviously is a more realistic world and doesn't have the
Sure,
superhero element, but I'm sure there are some
sure.
similarities in terms of the filming environment between those two.
Oh yeah, I mean that was really a tough shoot. Heroes was a monster to make. It took us 11 months of production. 11 months out of the year we're in production, which is unheard of. I think company keep we did November, December, January, February, March. Did about 5 months. But yeah, Heroes was physical every day, and long, long hours. That was before the unions really cracked down on hours. So you'd hear stories about 17-hour days, 18-hour days. Yeah, we'd have those. It was insane. It was insane. And company you keep, I think, we had some long hours, we had some long days, we had some big setups stunt wise, but our stunt team, Stephen Ho, his group of guys and gals, just I thought they always came up with something smart and inventive. And hats off to our directors as well to take the material and really, stretch it and do what we can from what you're saying, Abe, in that like realistic way. This isn't superheroes on cables flying and shooting stuff out of their hands. Like these are normal, real people. It's got to be believable that they can pull this stuff off. Charlie rappelling off of a 20-story or 20-story, 20-foot roof. It's like okay, yeah, we can believe that. Sure.
Well, I was also glad to see that you found a little time to get back on the marvelous Mrs. Maisel in
Yeah,
one scene. That show must be like entirely transporting something completely different, right?
entirely different, entirely different. Amy and Dan's writing is so detailed and so specific, and I constantly, whenever I'm asked to be, brought back into their worlds, I'm grateful, and I'm just wanting to make them proud and please them and do what I can. And um, that the handsome man role, he's a fascinating guy. And we didn't get to explore him a whole lot, but I think what you do know of him in season 5, it's you understand, him a little bit more. He's not just this, he's not what you think you knew of him from season 4. Just that kind of quick, I think episode 7 opening teaser. Yeah, and there was supposed to be a little bit more, but I ran into a scheduling problem. So, show up when I can, do what I can, have fun with my friends Amy and Dan, and then just, move on.
And not too much stunt work with all that running and subway and stair chasing, all
No, I
that.
mean, no, a lot of running that day in a hot, sticky subway, wearing 3 coats, because of course, in the 60s, in the era that we were filming, it's really sharp, heavyweight stuff. But no, there were no fractured femurs and no split eyebrows.
Year. Well, while we're waiting for news of season 2 of the company you keep, is there anything else that you're working on right now?
A lot of development. It's back in the office doing development with my company. Trying to come up with a handful of different TV shows to put to market. Um, Looking at a handful of films as well, but kind of just enjoying time with the family and just backing off and trying to be present with, my personal life a little bit and recharge, uh, because company key was definitely a burner. Wearing a lot of hats on that one, from pre-production to production to post-production. It equated to just a lot of time spent. So I think I'm trying to swing the pendulum back to the other side and make sure that I'm seeing the family and spending time personally.
That's great. Well, I think the show came out very well, and I wish you plenty of luck in your free time.
Awesome. Thanks, Abe. Good to see you, man.